This one's a doozy. Today on Honestly, Dear Listener, we're talking about one of the things that makes being a human the hardest, at least in my opinion. We're talking about boundaries. And to help us out with this conversation, we are having Denver-based saxophonist, artist, and educator Sarah Mount of Sarah Mount and the Rushmores on the podcast, talking to us about how we can set healthy boundaries, and more specifically, the boundaries we need to make sure we're not being taken advantage of as artists. This is a good one for all of you gigging musicians out there, especially if you're a woman. So, welcome to Honestly, Dear Listener. I'm Carrie Schaefer.
I'm Emily Hatch.
Emily, will you tell us a little bit more about Sarah for those who haven't had the privilege of hearing about her?
Sarah Mount sax has found its way into more bands than you can shake a reed at for the last 12 years and counting. She's known across the entire music scene for her tireless work ethic and ability to play any style at any position in the lineup, whether that's pure ensemble work like she does with Mannequin the Band or the Denver Jazz Orchestra, or fronting a powerhouse group like her own Sarah Mount and the Rushmores. Sarah has made appearances at stages all over Colorado, frequenting prestigious metro area venues such as the Ogden Theater, the Bluebird Theater, Gothic Theater, Levitt Pavilion, the Mission Ballroom, Dazzle, and Red Rocks Amphitheater. Heck yeah. The Denver-bred saxophonist is a consummate artist who also paints and teaches music and art, and is one of the founders of Colorado Musicians Union, demonstrating her deep commitment to not only performing at a high level, but advocating for other artists and musicians every day. I am so excited to welcome my friend, Sarah Mount, to Honestly, Dear Listener.
Well, hello,
Sarah.
Hey. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Emily and Carrie. I really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so Emily, how do you know Sarah?
So Sarah Mount, Angel Babe, and I met working for a wedding band, actually. So we met in that wedding band and we're performing mountain gigs with thin air and full hearts. And and then Sarah asked me to be in her band, Sarah Mount and the Rushmores, and
we
nice. Performed together at a bunch of different places and different gigs. So
yeah,
I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. It's so nice to see you again too. I miss you.
I miss you too. It's been like since July?
Yeah.
So like 4 months.
Yeah.
So Sarah, you're in Colorado, right?
I am. I'm Denver. Yep, Denver.
Okay.
Artist. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are here today to talk about boundaries, which is great because boundaries are the thing that I probably struggle with the most. So I'm really, really hoping that you can give us some pointers on how to have better boundaries, art-wise. How?
Yeah. Man, sometimes I can also be really bad, but I am told that I'm good at this. So
nice.
We'll see where we land, but it's a struggle, especially as women who just want to be taken seriously. It can be quite the compromise of, is this going to benefit me in the long run? Obviously, short term, saying yes when you should say no, and all these things are probably, for the better, but are they really? Kind of things that I've had to figure out on my own as well. So,
right. Tell us about a time like you. I feel like since I've known you, you've done so many things and stood up for musicians and women and your art in all capacities. Tell us a story about when you had to establish a boundary that felt really challenging. I would really love to hear whatever story that you have, because I'm sure you have a bunch.
Yeah. Oh man. There's honestly, I can think of probably 3. I'm trying to pick which one I want to go with. So the boundary that I'm going to talk about here is friends versus business relationship, and like how those lines can be blurred and where it's important to not let that happen. But I did, 5 years ago, maybe more, I was approached by a record company for Sarah Mountain the Rushmores. And the guy who came and he saw my band at Cervantes in, I think it was 2019. It was like right before COVID. And, did the whole like, oh, you're awesome. I really enjoy your music. I work with, I'm just going to say it because I actually put like a screenshot blast out, which I'll get to later. So everybody already knows about this. I work with Color Red, and which is like a kind of a local, like a bigger local. Emily probably knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was referred to them actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who runs that again? What's his name? Do you remember?
We're friends.
Eddie Roberts.
Yes, Eddie. There it is. Okay.
Eddie Roberts. And he's like pretty famous guitar player. And so he owns and runs that company. And so this manager came up to me and was like, I would love to have some coffee with you and we can talk like some business goals and stuff. So I met this guy for coffee. The business, it was definitely business coffee. It was super professional. We talked about like, where have you been? Where are you going? What are your goals and dreams and all these things? And I thought it went really well, and it lasted an appropriate amount of time. It was only like 45 minutes. Super, like, did not get any flags at all. And I was walking away, just like walking to my car, and I got the wrap up, like, thank you so much for meeting me. I'm really excited about the future, all these things. And I reciprocated. And then I got a message from this guy, and he said, I really feel like I can trust you and like I can tell you anything. And right there, I was like,
already we're both like, what?
Hello.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't taste good. And so I just kind of said, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And let it go. And so a few days later, he texted again, and it was a follow-up. It was a, hey, what time, like, can you come to the studio and check things out? And I said, yeah, I can definitely do this, that, kind of just answering. And then at the end of that, he was like, can I tell you something? And I was like, oh, God.
Oh, no.
And I said, maybe, or I forgot what I said. It was definitely not a yes, but it was definitely not a no. But I really wanted to say no. I should have said no. I really should have. But I left that door just cracked open, just the tiniest bit, just because I really wanted to work with this record label. It was like a super great fit. I mean, I feel like my band would have been perfect for their style. It's like a funk, soul record label. I was just like, oh God. And so he proceeded
you never
to
know
tell
if
me,
he was just gonna be like,
yeah,
a weird, like he said it in a weird way, but he's gonna say something normal. I say shit like that.
And yeah, exactly, because musicians are a little weird, and like most of the time, I would say it's innocent. It's innocent weird. It's just a little off, and you're just like, oh, you're fine. You're just a little bit of a weirdo. But he was like, I love to wear ladies' lingerie. That's what he told me. Yeah.
Oh,
and I was like,
why?
okay. I literally said, all right, well, that's lovely for you. I really don't want to know that. I don't need to think about that. I don't want to talk about that. I'd love to keep this professional, if that's okay. And he was like, oh yeah, no worries, no problem. Sorry about that. And it seemed like it was solved, but
Sorry about that.
Whoopsie doodles. And so
Wow.
I just roll on with my life. And so it just kind of, this cycle just kept happening. It was like a few days later, he reached out to be like, how many originals do you have or something? And then he'd follow up with, would you like to see a photo of me in ladies' underwear? And I was just like, no. And I would really like this to stay professional. Like, I did this probably 2 or 3 times. And honestly, at this point, like, I probably, again, like, these are too many. I'm going down this path way too far already. The me now would have definitely talked to the me back then and been like, just drop it. Just go ahead and just honestly just ghost this guy. Like, just do anything it takes to get out of this situation. This is not going to end well. And so I think what happened, I kept saying that. The last time I said it, I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to post screenshots of our conversation. And then I posted a story. I actually didn't hear from him again after that, which I was like, well, there goes that. I posted a story on like Instagram or Facebook or something, and he had responded with like, what size bra are you? I would love to wear your bra. And I was like, all right, here we go. And so I just posted screenshots of this conversation and called him out on Facebook. And like Eddie Roberts reached out to me personally and was like, I'm so sorry. This is absolutely like just so embarrassing. I cannot believe he literally moved. I mean, he couldn't, like, he got completely ousted from the music scene. Because apparently he had done it to like 10 other girls. And that's the thing about these stories, that when I out people, like I get at least probably 10 girls on the actual post being like, oh my God, he did that to me too. It's horrible, disgusting. Some of the girls went in even like a little bit further and like allowed him to send the pictures and all these things. And like, that's when things get really, yeah. And, had a couple girls reach out to me personally, like in my messenger, and been like, thank you so much for doing that, because this guy totally pulled that on me. Same exact move, same exact, like, you can be a part of my record label. I'm a manager at Colored Red. Let me, you know what I mean? And that was his deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder how often this happens. Like, this can't be, if this is happening to 10 other women besides you with this one person.
That's exactly it. It's kind of like the scientists say that like you only see 30% of nature, or 10%, something like a really small number of what's actually around you at that time.
It's like the iceberg thing. It's like you're only seeing that, and there's so much more happening underneath.
Because imagine how many girls are out there seeing that and being like, I'm not going to say anything, but that totally happened to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's like a pretty solid example of a turning point for me and my own personal, like, I remember saying to myself, like, I am going to say no the second I get that weird feeling when I was walking away to my car and he was like, I feel like I can trust you to tell you anything. That's a red flag. A boss, a manager should not be saying that. Like, it's one thing if your bandmate says that, but the power dynamic between a authoritative or somebody, I'm gonna pay you kind of, that's not,
Yeah.
So I learned from that.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about boundaries, same thing. And I said, well, how do you know like when to put a boundary down? Because I'm constantly asking this question. I'm trying to figure this out so hard.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, if there is a power differential between you and another person, and they do something in their favor, that's icky, and you get that feeling, like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that would be okay if, well, I don't know. Ugh. But like, definitely not with the power differential. It's problematic.
It's so problematic. And honestly, because I saw what like you just kind of almost went down a path in your mind, and I saw that, and I know exactly what you were thinking. I hope I know, but say I started the conversation with like, oh, I feel like we have a lot in common, what kind of sexual preferences do you have? Is it okay for him to actually respond? Probably not. So even if I did start that conversation, it would probably be his job to be like, let's not talk about that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Or if you were at a bar and you met someone and you started talking about sexual preferences, and there's no one is over the other person, no one's underneath. Like, that's a different conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
and that would be a red flag to him if you were like, what about your sexual, whatever, like
100%. It should be for sure.
Yeah.
Like, there's no room for that topic. That there's just like, I can talk about that with so many other people. Why would I want to talk about it with what could be a potential boss,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Sarah, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's
sincerely, like,
it was a bit of a heartbreak. I definitely had a moment where I was like, man, I gotta mourn this potential, I don't know. There was a lot of potential there, and I was already starting to fantasize about like working with Eddie Roberts and his he's got a lot of I don't know, like leeway, just like
incredible artists that are doing
and
well,
he's got a wife and a family. He's like not up to, he's not up to no good, which is unfortunate, because a lot of of musicians are. A lot of them are like forever bachelors who are just out there like partying it up and doing whatever. And so I really wanted to do that. I felt like it was a perfect fit. And like, I was hoping that maybe Eddie Roberts would reach out to me at some point, but it's probably in his best interest to not as well. You know what I mean? Because that's what, when I call out Color Red and the guy, which I can't remember his name, honestly, in my post, like, that's not a good look for them. That is the end. That is a severance of that potential relationship. But you have to.
To me, I'm like,
I know.
Like, I'm not trying to call out Eddie Roberts, like, but I think the right move there would be that, like, this behavior is not acceptable. We don't tolerate this behavior. I would really love the opportunity to talk with you, because if like you're an artist that our label would be interested in, I would love to make this right by you and actually like try to go down this road. To me,
yeah, I agree.
The classy move there, but
yeah, I agree, but whatever, I guess. So that's a
so
big
what
one.
about what about when you are arranging gigs? I'm sure you've been lowballed. I'm sure that so how do you the problem with that is that if you're not willing to do it for this low price, there is a really good chance that another band is willing to do that, which sucks, and it just brings everyone down.
Yeah, for sure. I did start a union over that, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're advocating for at least $100 a player, no matter what. And yeah, honestly, I can only just say no. I'm actually really good at that boundary, super good at it, and it's only served me well. I also raise my prices, like my rates, regularly, and I will let people know, like through an email or through some sort of like announcement, that my rates are going up, you know? And I very rarely lose anybody. Most people are like, this sounds good to me. You know what I mean?
Emily and I were just talking about that the other day. Like, she was like, have you ever had anyone complain about your pricing? And I was like, well, no. And mine is more than some life coaches around there. I've tried to price it well. And I asked her, and she said, yeah, no, I haven't. And and I think there's a perceived value. Once you raise a price, people are paying more, and then they value you more.
Exactly. That is the code, and it seems counterintuitive, but it's totally true. And so when the people who play for free or for very little do that, it does make me feel better, even though they're taking the whole like average price point down. They're also kind of like making their own bed, and they'll forever get gigs that are only free, or like, you know what I mean? And you can't do that. Yeah, you'll eventually just have to peter out, because nobody can like maintain that, you know?
Yeah.
So they are kind of in charge of their own deal with that, and it is very disappointing that it does take everyone's, value down, but it doesn't really matter. I will still be out here charging, $100 an hour or more. And honestly, like, maybe I've never had anyone complain about it. I've definitely had people like maybe not rebook after that, but no, they just ghost. Like, it's fine, I'm totally fine with losing that.
So role play with me really quickly, if you're up for that. So let's say I'm a person, you say my rate is blah, blah, blah. And I say, oh, that's maybe too much for me, Sarah. Could you like cut that maybe by like a third or something? What would you say?
It really depends. It's a case by case. So like, say it was like a birthday party and they wanted a little like singing telegram, but with a saxophone. I would probably compromise on some of that stuff. But if it's, something like an agency gig or something where I know these people have a lot of money, I will just say no. And I'll let them go and try to find somebody who can, and let them find out for themselves that when you lowball, you're going to get a lowball entertainment, like a lowball performer, because that's what happens. And I hear back, and I've definitely had people come back to me and be like, yeah, I totally should have hired you because I hired this person and they sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of that, I don't know, it kind of ends up solving itself in a short sense, but in the long sense it's definitely disappointing. But yeah, if I would just basically either be like, no thank you, enjoy your event, or I would say yeah, for that price I can pay, or I can play for 15 minutes, or you know what I mean, like as opposed to playing for an hour, I can play for 15 minutes.
So you offer solutions sometimes, but then it's also just totally okay to say, no, thank you, but have a great event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Do
mean,
you
it
feel
really just kind of get to feel it out, you know?
Yeah.
when you say like, I'm really good at that, which is so awesome, do you feel like you've always been really good at drawing that
No,
boundary? Okay. So when do you
definitely
think
not.
there was like a shift? I'm sure it wasn't like one experience, but when in your career do you feel like it started to become like, oh, this isn't the way that this should go for me? Like, when did that
Yeah.
mindset start shifting?
I think it was during, like, not during COVID, but right when we had like 2 rounds. It was like the first one, which was real scary and everything really shut down. And then things kind of opened back up a little bit. And then we shut down again.
So like
In
Omicron
between,
time. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. The in between time where we opened back up for that little bit was when I was like, I have to have like a sustainable approach to this, because I can't do a COVID again and have these things and come out of it, you know? And that was, I mean, that was how long ago now? Like 3-4 years ago. So like I've been in the scene for about 12 years, so it took me a little while to get there, you know? And I did learn pretty quickly not to play for free. That was definitely something that I put my foot down pretty early on, but like I definitely played for real cheap before, you know, before that. And I just had to start saying no to, like, I would do a lot of sit-in situations where a band would call me and be like, can you come play solo on one song at Cervantes, you know, for $20 or $30? And now I charge like 70 to 100, you know? Because yeah, that's just, and people still hire me. So it hasn't really,
Well, because it's not just the solo. It's you have to
That's it.
pay for parking, the
Yeah.
time to get down. You have to get ready.
Yeah.
You have to I mean, it's all those things. It's
Yeah.
not just the 15 minutes.
Exactly. Because like my concept of time and how valuable it is and my effort really changed during COVID. And I think it did for all of us, whether we realize it or not. Maybe it was more like subconscious, or maybe it was more like a realization. But I think that we all kind of came to terms with like, how do we value our time, and like, what are we doing with ourselves? Who are we? You know, what am I doing without my job? And what, you know? So that was kind of my big answer to that. And it hasn't really changed much. I do take less scene gigs because I don't really like them that much anymore. I mean, just
Scene
being
gigs?
completely
Is that what
honest.
you said?
Yeah, like you know, bar, lounge, venues that are 100% ticket, you know, where you're in charge of the ticket sales. That's what would, you know, qualifies as scene gig, non-agency or corporate. So nothing with a guarantee, basically. Because those are hard work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. During
So,
COVID,
yeah.
I stopped saying yes to most bar gigs.
Right.
I had one gig where I was getting paid basically nothing. I mean, I was getting paid, but it was a room full of people. No one looked at me or clapped, and it was like a 3-hour gig.
Yep.
And I was just, I had this like physical pain in my body, and was just like, I never want to do this again, ever.
Yep.
And I think there are shifts during that like COVID time where you're like, oh, I could be home and I actually am fine with that. Or I
Exactly.
might have said no to another gig to do this gig, you know?
Yep.
So that
Yep.
shift is huge.
Yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I don't know if you all feel this way, but I think because I'm a woman and how I was raised, when I set a boundary, I generally have this feeling that I am an asshole.
Yeah.
And I hate that. What is that? Do you feel that way too?
Yes, I do. I've got a story for that one. For like
Do it.
a
Yeah,
woman
I'm here for it.
specific, am I being an asshole right now? I still don't think I was, but I am open to being told that I was. So here we go. I played with a salsa band, like a Latin party band, and the guy who led it was very much like a typical very macho, like masculine leading guy.
Mhm.
And he sang and like did percussion in the band. And so I joined this band, and
You got to
we
watch
were
the
having a lot of
singers, by the
fun.
way.
Oh yeah,
Those singers.
dude, watch those male singers.
Um,
And yeah, he's just ridiculous. And so I was in the band and everything was going fine. He did start to say things like, I would like it if you dressed a little sexier, maybe lower cut, higher skirt type thing, which, okay, here's the deal with that. I am in charge of when I want to dress and how I want to dress. So if I want to dress like that, because I do sometimes, I'm feeling it, that's up to me. But if I don't want to do that, that's up to me too. And I won't do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever he asked me, I would always just be like super like weirded out and be like, maybe, I don't know if I'm feeling it. Sure. And that was kind of my answers. And then he started like being weirdly touchy on stage, would like kind of touch my hips and stuff. I remember this one time we were playing like Crestone Music Festival. So it was like an outdoor mountain, thousands of people. And I like literally slapped his hands away like that right in front of everybody. I didn't care. I was like, don't touch me. But every time I had like a sidebar conversation, I was like, look, you can't touch me like that. He would be like, okay, I'm so sorry. And then I think it was the very next gig, he ended up giving me a necklace as a bonus. Emily, have I told you this story? Have you heard this one? Yeah. Gave me a necklace as a bonus. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I just, in front of the band, because the guys were there too, I was like, did you get anybody else necklaces as a bonus? Like, did you get Tober a necklace? He's like, well, no. I was like, please return this and give me money.
Yeah.
Just give me $100, just like you do for everyone else. I remember I was so mad. And like, at that point, my band started like standing up for me and being like, yeah, dude, that's not cool. So that one was a little bit of an am I the asshole, but also like just over being like a woman specific thing though, because how many guys do you know who have gotten jewelry as a bonus?
How many musicians do you know that get a bonus? First of all, and then, a necklace is gross. After being touched, where would you be the asshole in this? I'm just curious.
I mean,
at what point would this make you shitty?
So, okay, here's the deal. My mom has very questionable ethical, like her compass is questionable. She's a boomer. I'm not like, sorry, boomers who are listening, if you're listening, but like she is a boomer. Anyways, she was there. And she was actually before the band was even standing up for me and being like, yeah, that's not cool, dude. She was like, I mean, it's a nice necklace. And like, really? I mean, it's like no, not so bad, is it? Yeah, my mom. And I was like, come on. So that was probably the voice of like, am I being the asshole? Because even my mom was like advocating for this necklace as a bonus being like acceptable.
Isn't it funny?
And we are products of how we're raised.
Right.
People raise us. And so that programming is going to be in there.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how your parents can just come slap that shit right out of your hand when you're like, I feel like good about this decision. And they're like, a dick. And you're like,
oh God, okay.
Oh, yeah. I have that voice in my head all the time. Like, love my parents so much, but also it is like, oh, this is okay, right? And then like, no. It's just in my own head. It doesn't even have to actually be a parent. You're not the asshole, dude.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
By the way, men, if you're listening, which I hope.
I hope too, yeah.
I hope men are listening. Some takeaways, okay? Don't be creepy. Just take her seriously. Take her seriously.
Don't touch your bandmate.
It's not that hard. Don't touch your bandmate.
Don't touch the bandmate.
If not everyone gets a bonus, no one does.
Yeah,
right?
for real.
Unless,
For real.
And cash is better than nondescript jewelry, like, just
Totally.
So I had a bandmate that would grab me from time to time. Married,
no,
like upstanding man, Christian and air quotes, and he would grab me if I was wearing like a short skirt for a gig. He would grab my ass. And it took me turning around in a public place. It was like the 4th or 5th time he'd done it, and screaming, "Don't fucking touch me," before he stopped fucking touching me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Emily. That's terrible.
Yeah. I'm sorry for you. Like, I think this happens again. Like, another story of like, I think this happens a lot.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it needs to stop, though. And it's so unfortunate.
Here's the deal. Direct, and this is something that I'm learning. Direct is kind. Beating around the bush and not saying like, if you're feeling red flags and not saying something about the red flags, that is a disservice to ourselves. That's also a disservice to the women around us. So being direct is kind when it comes to your boundaries.
Absolutely. If not to, honestly, to them too, because like, if you're being an enabler, and they need to hear it more than anyone, more than even you, they need to hear that too. So it's kindness to them. It really is. Absolutely. If you think about it, it's hard kindness, but it's totally kindness. Like, I'm going to tell you what's up because clearly no one else has before, which is really sad for you. And I'm going to give a shit about myself, and as a like second wave, or like a butterfly effect almost, like I give a shit about you because I'm stopping you, and maybe in the future you can not do this, and you can actually, you know what I mean? Because I do believe in that people change. I believe that with accountability, and that you can like redeem and revise yourself to be a way that is serving for yourself and those around you. But, without the accountability and the minute, or for somebody to literally tell you to stop, like, how is that going to happen? How are you going to foster change if you don't even know? Because honestly, and I learned this during the Me Too movement, not the creepy, like the actual sexual harassment stuff, but a lot of men who had enough forethought to be like, wow, I did some questionable, and I've said some questions. I've made jokes that are not okay. You know what I mean? So like, they didn't even realize there is that a little bit of a gap where there are people who are totally like out to harm. Just 100%. Then there's people who behave in a certain way that don't even realize, like, Emily, I don't think your story I don't think this qualifies, but like, there are men who just don't know any better, and they don't do things that are completely harmful, but definitely things that are like, that are keep you up at night a little bit, or, stuff like that.
And
those are the men that I hold space for.
Like, that's creepy. They need to hear, like, that's off-putting. I
don't say jokes like that,
Don't like comment on my appearance. Don't talk about my body. Don't, and
don't talk about what I'm wearing.
I work with a lot of old dudes in bands, and and sometimes it's like, you think you're being nice by saying that I look hot. Don't just
don't.
Yeah. And I think some of them are like, oh, I was trying to be nice. Like, yeah, but that's also creepy. So and they're like, oh, okay. And that's an example of like, I'm doing you a favor and saving like a 22-year-old from having to be like, ugh,
or saving you from a certain reputation, or like, you know what I mean? Because as a society, we go through time and space, and we learn and we grow and we change, and like, things that y'all ever watch some movies from the 90s? That shit has not aged well at all. And
we watched Ghostbusters tonight. Oh my gosh.
My God.
And I was like, okay, they just portrayed all the women as idiots. Every single woman in that movie is an idiot.
And let me guess, they were wearing like super like tight clothes and just the whole, and I mean, just stuff just doesn't age well, and we have to grow and change with it if we want to have like a successful and productive society. I mean, it's super backwards to think that what worked for us 10, 20, 50, 100 years ago is going to work for us now. Like maybe sometimes that's true, but for the most part, that's not true at all. And especially when it comes to cultural and societal like references of how to treat each other. So I do. Yeah. So I hold a lot of space for men who are just like thinking they're being complimentary but they're actually, it just rubs you the wrong way. It's not harmful. It's just not necessarily the right thing to say or do, or to even think. Like, we just have to change the environment as far as like professional and how we show up and stuff. So,
yeah.
So as frontliners of both of, I'm sorry, Emily.
Oh, I was just going to say, I feel like I appreciate people who hold space for that, because I feel like I've said a lot of dumb shit. I am really glad that someone was like, that's bad. Don't say that. And I'm like,
me too.
Noted. Didn't even think about that. So like, I thank you. And on behalf of dudes, they're not here right now, I'm sure that they thank you for holding space as well. The non-creepy ones, or the non-intentional, the intentionally creepy ones. Carrie, what were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So because you've both headlined bands, have you ever had people at gigs or people that are setting up the gigs talk to your male bandmates and not to you as the person?
Have we ever?
Okay, so how do you deal with those situations?
Emily, do you want to start with this?
Sure.
Okay.
So I had a band that I headlined for 10 years with dear friends, and it was a small band. I fronted, and then it was a guitar, bass, and drummer that were all men. And this guy walked up to me at a gig that the band is my name and then something else, right? And he walked up and he said, well, who's in charge of your band? And I said, me. And he's like, yeah, but who like is in charge of the band? And I was like, me. Like, and he's like, okay, but who like books the band and does everything? Me. And he said, okay, great job. And then he went and talked to the guitar player.
Oh my God.
The guitar player was like, she does.
Yeah, so, like basically like aim those at her. I don't know the answer to those questions.
I'm just like, well, it's great.
Very similar story.
Yeah. I'm like, we won't book with you. That's fine. Like, unless, like, benefit of the doubt, I'm just gonna baby gaslight real quick myself. Unless he thought we were just so good we had a manager. But I really did not get that vibe.
For me, answers in, like, he probably should have figured it out. Oh,
me with the vagina. Like,
yeah, exactly. Oh God, not the vagina.
Yeah.
I have a very similar, like, I also have my band Mount and the Rushmores, and my name's right in it, and it's like, well, who runs your band? And I'm also the only, because here's the deal, I don't mean to be the only woman in my band, or femme, I guess, because I want to be inclusive, but it's really hard to find lady bandmates because they're so damn busy, because it's a 1 to 4 out there, so 1 woman to every 4 men, so it's about 20-25% women in the scene, and the ones who are in it, they fucking crush, and so they're busy as fuck. You know what I mean? And so that's a problem, and like that's a blessing and a curse, I would say, being a lady in the music scene. But same exact scenario. My band name's in the thing. It's like right there. I very openly and clearly book my stuff. I like put it right in my little email like thing, and yeah, same exact scenario. Like, but who's the band leader? Like, come on, man. And I don't know, Emily, you're so nice about it. I mean, I can see you getting annoyed and stuff, but I think I pretty much was like, yeah, ask again. Go ahead, ask me the next one.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's me. Like, I'm a little bit harder about it. You know what I mean?
I like to slow burn people's stupidity about things. So it's like I had a guy once just walk up and tell me he didn't like my name. And I was like, okay. And I was in like a public place just in line to get some food. And he's like, I don't like your name. And I was like, okay, well, what would you like to call me then? And I was like, within reason, I just will like accept whatever you want to call me. Thank you. Thank you. You know, so mine's more like slow burn.
Oh, I'm so like,
I'm
I
just
don't
like,
mind confrontation.
Me.
Yeah.
Again, me. Crazy, I know, because of the body I have, but it's me. Yeah.
I know, right? Like, oh, she has boobs. She must not be able to run a band.
Yeah, they get in the way. Like, every time I try to type an email, I'm like, what are my tits doing here?
Like, oh, you again? Oh, no. Shit. I mean, for real, I'm a little bit more confrontational. I'm more of a, are you going to waste my time? Like, I have a look that I give, and if they don't get it, I'm totally like, I'll just throw a match at this and walk away, because I just like, I'm a fast burn. I'm like, I don't have time for you. I'm getting older by the second, and I want to go to bed. So can we remove this along a little bit?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always surprised me, actually, that one. The who runs your band when your name's in it, you know? I mean, I get it. If I show up with my wedding band, I am like the lowest on the totem pole. I swear, I shit you not, we have mic packs because we run in-ears, and I swear the numbers are like the ranking. Emily can confirm, because the vocalists are the first 4, and then the talk back, and then like bam, bam, bam. So the horns are literally the last numbers. We are the lowest on the totem pole. And that one, if someone comes up to me on a wedding and is like, hey, who runs your band? I'll be like, oh yeah, this person does right over there. Like, that's understandable. But if I show up and my thing is on the marquee and it says Sarah Mount and the Rushmores, and I've been working my ass off selling tickets to your fucking venue, like,
and a bitch
take
is
me
queuing.
seriously.
Like you're queuing everything. Like, that's the thing that kills me. It's like, do you know, like, again, a bitch is queuing this. Like, I am the one that's doing, when the drummer wants to end, he looks at me. It's my band.
For real. It's that one's always surprised me. Like, yeah. Creep's gonna creep, right? We're like, let's be real. Creeps are gonna be around forever. Hopefully they learn to, like, I don't know, not to hide it, because I don't want that either, but to just kind of like filter it out when they're in a public setting or whatever. I don't even know how to handle
turn
creeps,
the volume down on it.
Yeah, but this shit is totally it's avoidable. Like, you don't have to be like this. You can just say, "Oh, you cool. I've got some things I need to talk to you about." Like, why is that back and forth? Is that a power dynamic thing too? Like, is that a guy trying to get an upper hand because we have to work together for the night, and he's the, sound tech, bar manager, whatever you want to say, but like, is he trying to be like, yeah, I'm more important than you by that? What's the end game in that?
I think,
you know what I mean?
There's there are some just dumb people who are like, but a woman can't be the leader. And that's like, yeah, I'll teach you the difference versus someone like negging on purpose, which I've also totally had.
What is negging?
It's when someone is mean on purpose to try to like
take it down a notch.
Or like, okay, so I worked with a musician who I would go to bars with, and he was like, negging's the best way to get girls. And he's like, just watch.
Yeah. Go down a rabbit hole, look up negging, and it's like a dating move.
Yeah.
But it goes more than dating. It's now made its way into professional world where, like, yeah, it's basically like, I will hold you down by my negativity about you, and you will feel like you can't do better or be better, or you are this, so that you have to like kind of play by my
It'll
rules.
be like Stockholm syndrome, and you actually end up wanting to please me. I shit
weird.
You not, dude. Multiple times I watched him like just get women.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, no, watch. And I've not been a person that does that myself. Like, I can see it from a mile away. I didn't even know what negging was, and I was like, "You're a douche," you know?
Yeah, for real.
But I would watch him say something mean to someone sitting next to him and then take them home.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. There's a lot of psychology behind that, and it's definitely like unmet needs that are, it's just sad. It's just sad.
Yeah.
Don't
I
fall
I
victim to
I
that.
definitely think there's an element. Yeah, don't fall victim to that. Just like honestly, just don't even deal, And then if we're leaving a space again for the men who don't know any better, we'll put them in that category because sometimes it literally is an exposure thing. Like you don't work with women that much, and so you don't even mean to be like this, but because you aren't used to that, like you have to make sure that you're doing your job the way that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I do believe that some of the interactions that have that tone are actually like a power dynamic struggle, and then others are like shock, like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not used to working with a woman. Yeah, like in a good way almost, like, oh yeah, girl, get it, let's go. So just like you said, don't be that person. Just don't be that person, Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. There's
I feel
so
like
much.
There's probably like 4 episodes, maybe 400 we could do on boundaries in art. And we didn't even talk about visual art, which is Sarah's a visual artist also. And like we didn't even talk about that. There's so much, but thank you so much for sharing your stories and knowledge with us. And you're just so inspiring. Like,
oh,
thank you,
so
Sarah.
much.
It's been such.
I try.
Oh, you go.
Sorry.
You go.
I try to be just like an open book with this stuff because, first of all, what happens is not like I'm not embarrassed or ashamed because it's not mine to own. I was, I don't want to say a victim because that's a little bit too much, but I am but the player in the game. I am not the maker of the game. And I did not ask for these things, nor do I feel the need to own any kind of like shame. And so I'm very much open about it because I hope that if I can have just even one woman read some of this stuff and be able to avoid a potential situation because she was like, oh shit, I read Sarah Mount's post about that and this definitely seems a lot like that, then I feel like I can I don't know, that's my way of giving back, I guess. That's my way of like, I feel like as humans who are alive that we should probably, I think it's in our best interest to leave the planet in a little bit better of shape that when we found it. And that's kind of my way of doing it, is just to kind of out these situations, sometimes people, but mostly the situations, and it's for like avoidance in the future, to learn better, to just not allow this stuff anymore, because a lot of it is very much like avoidable,
Yes.
And you have championed
Ladies,
that.
listen to your guts.
Yes. Oh my God. And you've championed that for so many people. I know that about you, and have watched you like out rapists and like on a huge scale in Denver. I mean, and people who were assaulting people who, you have, I know that you're very modest about this stuff, but I just want to say, like, you are inspiring, and the work that you're doing is so important. Not only playing and making art, but also like who you're helping on a daily basis. So thank you for being amazing.
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. It's honestly my pleasure. It really is.
Well, thanks for being
women helping women.
Yes,
women
that's right.
Stick together.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's truly what it really comes down to. And just knowing that like we most of the times don't ask for these scenarios, and even if we do, they're still not okay. Yeah, even if we did do this and that and this that added up to where we are, and you want out, that is 100% your prerogative, and 100% like you can do that. You know, if men can do it, then you can do it too. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So I think that's important.
Totally.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for your work, and thank you for talking with us today, Sarah. We really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you so much. I'm happy. If you want to make a series, a boundary series, you just let me know.
Woohoo!
I got this
Yeah.
app downloaded.
Oh, I
I'm
need
ready
it.
to go.
Yes. We'll probably take you up on that. So
Yeah, hey, I mean, seriously, like if you want to do like a theme, but boundaries related and like in different, versions, like I'm happy to do that.
that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Well, and for our listeners, if you like what you're listening to, if you like what we're putting out into the universe, feel free to hit us up on our Patreon. You can go to honestlydearlistener.com, click support, and you can donate there. And thank you so much. We so appreciate everything that our listeners do for us.
Thank you. Thanks again, Sarah. Sarah Mount.
Thanks, Sarah.
I want to be like, Sarah Mount, everyone. Now clap.
I know,
for
just
her,
like
'cause
a
that's just like
dazzle.
yeah.
It is. It's like it's ingrained. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you sometime soon. I
Thank you.